want to talk about something that's particularly applicable to the younger guys, maybe from age 14 to 20 in particular. I think I really started to, and older, honestly, any age this is good stuff, but for me I started to kind of understand this concept when I was maybe 21 or so. And of course I'm still coming to a deeper understanding of it. My friend once told me that his father told him when he was probably a sophomore in high school that the movies and shows that he watched, the people he associated with, and the books he read during the next 5 to 10 years would be the most important. We put it this way, they would be the most important. So the content, and we use that term usually just to mean crap, short videos on YouTube or even long ones, but social media content. But content in this context includes books, any form of media, any form of information that you purposely intake or semi-intentionally intake. The content that you intake between the ages of, let's say, 15 and 25 is some of the most important content that you intake, because it really shapes you and it sets you up at this base level in your life, because every year builds off the one that comes before it, and everyone can change if they put in the effort, but you can really send yourself hard in a direction in these adolescent years, the years between 15 and 25, let's say. So I remember when I was probably, we'll say 14, 15, 16, I remember that I could get sucked down a content hole in YouTube where I would get recommended something, it would pique my interest. I remember videos about atheism at one point were something that I had to click on it, right? I had to click on it, and it would give me these ideas, and it would shape my mind in a certain way, and it would make me feel a certain way. It ultimately would make me act a certain way. And I remember in college when I kind of realized, like, whoa, I really have a lot of control over how I feel. If I'm really depressed, or I'm really happy, or I feel a sense of purpose, or I feel a sense of hopelessness, a good amount of that can be traced back to my mental diet. What am I intaking information-wise through my eyes and ears? And before that, I remember I didn't have that next level understanding of it. When I had content presented to me, I had to deal with it. It didn't matter. I didn't realize that I had a choice to intake information or not. It's as though I were at a buffet and I said to myself, well, I have to eat everything. I have to have some of everything. I have to. I just have to. It's there, so I have to. No. You could take it or leave it. You can take what's going to serve you and leave what doesn't. Or you can take what you think is right, what you think you ought to, and leave what you think you ought not. That's up to you. You have that choice. You have that control. And it's a lot more control than you think. There's a little clip at the end of one of my favorite songs by Graydon Square. I want to say it's probably called Many Worlds. That may not be right. I know it's on the Type 3 Omniverse album. And this quote, I don't know who it's from. It's probably from some quantum physicist or something like that. And he says, "You talk about creating a mindset. The bottom line is this. you put garbage into your mind, you're going to get garbage out of your mind. It's a mental diet. It's the same thing. If you eat crap, if you eat nothing but processed crap, nothing but carbs, sugar, and salt and fat, your body's not going to have the material it needs to grow, and it's going to, your metabolism's going to get screwed up. You're just putting yourself at a massive disadvantage. It's very similar with the content, and it's so easy nowadays, just as it is with food, right? The processed food is hyper palatable. It's addictive. I know, you have one Dorito, you gotta have another. It's freaking amazing. And having Doritos once in a while probably won't have some noticeable effect, but we all know, I mean, look around. If you live in the United States, or almost any developed country probably, you look around and you know how easy it is for a lot of us to get sucked into this hole and eat way too much and make ourselves fat and miserable. It's the same with our minds. Why do you think so many people are depressed? There's an epidemic in obesity. There's also an epidemic in depression. Now, obviously, being obese probably makes you more likely to be depressed. But the same concept of crap food makes your body miserable can be applied to crap information or crap content makes your mind feel miserable. It ruins your mental health. Now, some examples of content holes that are probably not going to serve you. Red pill content. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff there, I think. I think basic red pill understanding is a good thing. But if you're watching fresh and fit clips and all this stuff and constantly being told how bad women are and constantly being told that what it means to be a good person and a good man is to be this alpha image, you got to make a ton of money and be an asshole and stuff, it's not going to lead to happiness ultimately. There's a really good podcast episode done recently by Malcolm and Simone Collins. Their podcast, Based Camp, you can find it on YouTube. Just search up Based Camp. And one of their most recent episodes was talking about Hamza. And we all know, I love Hamza, right? I've listened to and watched Hamza for years. And he was kind of on this arc where it seemed like he was really figuring things out and seeing things from a different perspective than a lot of the people on the internet, and I was loving him for that. He had moved out to rural Scotland, he had his girl, he was going to get married and start the fatherhood chapter of his life. And then he decided to throw it all away, go back to the city, and just go back to being a urban alpha male, which, you know, the man can do what he wants. He's got the power, he's got a lot more money and influence than I do, that's for sure. And I respect that. But wow, to have what he had in the palm of your hand and throw it away, I would be very surprised if he didn't regret that in the future. Anyway, this podcast episode on Based Camp by Malcolm and Simone Collins talks about that, and it really goes in deep into the mindset and the pitfall. And I have to think that going into a red pill content hole and filling his mind with that information, continually seeing, you know, oh, shoot, you know, Alex Hormozy is out and he's partying and doing this stuff and this. I don't know. Alex Hormozy doesn't seem like that kind of guy exactly, but whoever it is, you know, Andrew Tate, Justin Waller, whoever it is, wow, you know, I I understand. I go on YouTube and I see guys hanging out with hot chicks, and it starts to get me antsy. And I want to go do that. I want to chase the women. I want to chase the money. But has that ever led to happiness long term? I think that if you've spent more than a couple years on self-improvement, you've started to realize that, yeah, it's good to become attractive to women, and it's good to get control of that part of your life. But the goalpost moves from, at some point, the goalpost will move for you from, I want to just boost my ego and have as many women as possible slobbering over me, to, I want real love, real connection, building a family and to take on the challenge of fatherhood and do it right. So you got to be very cognizant of the content that you're consuming, and I've been blessed to kind of have a conscience with this kind of thing, having a religious background and frequently consuming religious content does a lot of good balancing kind of that traditional worldview, or at least the modern translation of that traditional worldview, with a lot of what makes sense to me that's on the cutting edge of the manosphere or masculinity. And ultimately, the traditional stuff is correct. The modern masculinity, manosphere ideas are really more of just a way to contextualize it for men in the modern world. And I think that if you've got your head on straight and you take a step back and you have this third person perspective, which Hamza always used to talk about meditating, a lot of people do, it gives you a chance to step back from your thoughts and really not let them carry you away. And I know it's tough. Believe me, it's tough. You think about if you've conquered porn addiction, then you know how difficult it is. You know there was that time for me where if I stumbled across a photograph of a woman's leg, I knew it was over, and I didn't know how to fight it. I had no power, right? But over time, you build discipline, you build presence, cognizance, awareness, and you're able to put that behind you. You're able to avoid getting pulled off the path here and there. So stay vigilant, stay alert, and check yourself about the content you're consuming. And if you need to, I know what I often do is I just delete YouTube off my phone, or I block it on my computer for a while. And I know when I need to. And I'll push it a little bit, and then I'll be like, oh, gotta take a break from this. And then weeks, months later, when I come back, days, weeks, months, however long it ends up being, I get back on there and I find it much easier to curate my own mental diet. Everything you hear or see goes into your brain the same way everything you eat or drink goes into your stomach. And we all know that if you want to be the best you can be, and I think that's what we're all trying to do, you got to get a handle on that.